Have you ever gone through a season in your life where your psychic abilities were still working, but they were working differently? The way that you were receiving messages seemed to have changed. And you may have wondered, why is that? What's going on? Well, someone recently asked me that same question. She had left a comment in my most recent video about energy anchors and how they affect mediumship and psychic abilities. If you haven't checked that out, I'd like to invite you to do so. The link for that is in the description area down below. But she had gone through a stroke in February of 2021, and her mediumship abilities completely lit up. And so she was able to talk to someone on the other side. And there was great clarity coming through in the messages. However, a few months later, that ability began to fade. So she can still receive downloads, she can still receive messages, but the mediumship seems to be a little wonky. And so she wanted to know why that is. And that is a fantastic question because many of us have been through that experience where the way we receive messages either changes or our psychic abilities begin to sort of migrate. And we might find that we are excellent at mediumship one day, but then a few days later, we're having dreams of the future, and that becomes our primary gift for a while. So, what's up with that? Why does that happen? Well, what's interesting is as I was reading Michelle's question, because Michelle is the person who submitted that comment on the video, I began to feel my own channels open up and a divine message began to come through. So I do have a team of light beings that I connect with, and they do this once in a while where they decide to step in and provide a message. And so, without further ado, this is the message that was channeled from light beings regarding why our ability to receive psychic and intuitive messages changes. Everything on earth changes. Everything in your realm of existence, in your dimension and universe changes. When you go back to the very beginning of time, to the creation of earth, you will see that it was consistently in a state of flux from its beginning to the time that you are in right now. A world that was once mired in darkness and ash is now a world that is thriving with complex beings and complex situations. And the more intelligent that life becomes, the more complicated its challenges and situations become. And so it is the same with every spirit who chooses to incarnate on earth. You as a spirit are welcomed into a human body. And the way that human body looks at conception is completely different from the way that it looks at its death. The body is always changing. Hormones are fluctuating. Blood pressure moves up and down. The neural pathways of the brain are consistently at flux as well. There is always changes happening in the body. You become stronger, you become weaker. You become healthy, you become sick. You can breathe through your nose fine one day and the next day it's stuffy due to allergies. The allergens that you seem to have been okay with for years are suddenly causing an issue. Your skin that was once pliable and soft is now becoming a little thinner. And maybe it is also not as soft. So your biology is consistently changing, as are all the energies around you, because you are not the only one that is changing. The people around you are changing. The environments that you're in is always changing. The energy that you're in is consistently changing. So nothing is ever the same today as it was even just yesterday. You're a day older and a day wiser now. And your body knows this. Your body is brilliant at creating new cells and rejuvenating and healing itself. And your soul goes through the same type of reconstructive environments. So just as your body is changing, your spirit is changing through this physical dimension and the experience that you're having here on earth. And as your spirit is changing, many times your body is trying to keep up. So when your spirit is elevating, or when your spirit is simply changing, your body is doing what it can to continue to contain that essence of your soul, that portion of your spirit. But in order for your soul to remain in that vessel, in that body, it has to be an energy match. And so your soul is consistently changing and growing and moving and doing all of these miraculous and wonderful things. And the body, which is limited in what it can do because of the dimension that it is anchored in, sometimes struggles to keep up. And so when this happens, you do experience a significant change in how you receive messages and how they funnel through. You may notice that the impressions that you receive begin to change. Perhaps when you were young, when you were 10 years old, you received impressions and maybe they actually felt good in your body and they felt good in your mind and your energy and your spirit. But now, years later, those impressions feel different. They're not always happy. They don't always feel magical. They can come through feeling like heaviness in the chest or even a pain in the hip. It can come through as a message that bombards and overwhelms your mind, even causing a headache for a brief moment or longer than that. Because the body is changing and the soul is becoming more powerful. The soul is becoming more eclectic and creative in the way that it receives messages, and your soul is going, wow, this is wonderful. I'm remembering how to receive messages and how to even give out information. Your soul kind of goes through a remembrance while it is here. And this is all happening on a soul level, which means that your subconscious mind and your conscious mind doesn't always have access to what is taking place within the soul. And because the body itself, the subconscious mechanisms, the conscious mind, the physical aspects to your brain, to your mind, to everything that is your body, is struggling to not only keep up, but to absorb the messages that the soul is wanting to integrate within the body. Because your body and your soul are not meant to work apart from each other. They were always meant to work in unison. It was at one point a perfect system. The body at one point was a miraculous, divine vessel that allowed a high vibrational spirit to come in, to merge with it, and live a physical human existence. And as different forms of illnesses began to take root in the body, and as different forms of technology and even greed began to make its way in this existence on Earth, it became harder for the soul and the body to unify, because what the body needs to be able to survive has changed vastly over the course of many, many years. Because it's not just that you need to have food and shelter to survive, it's also that you need community. It's also that you need to be aware of how your actions affect other people and how other people are affecting you in your energy, because humans do have this innate ability to cause significant harm to one another. So in an effort to be safe, your body And your conscious mind and your subconscious mind are always playing a sort of mathematical game designed to keep you safe, designed to keep not just the body safe, but the soul, because the body knows that it's here to protect the soul and to be a vessel so that the soul can have these different experiences. So the reason that you receive messages differently is because everything around you is always changing. And even in your physical reality, and when you look at your friendships and relationships and your home and your jobs and your financial security, and when you look at everything that you have been a steward of up until this point in your life, you will recognize that all of those things have changed, and they've all come in fluctuations. They've all come with ups and downs, all of them. And your psychic abilities, the way you receive messages, is very much the same, because your soul is united with your mind and your body are still trying to protect you. So your mind, your body, your brain are still weighing the consequence or the possible consequence of allowing spiritual messages to come through. And because the human body is so meticulous in its creation and in its ability to be able to regenerate blood cells and other forms of cells, to rejuvenate itself, to pump out the right hormones at the right time, and all of it is very distinct. And everything has to be on the right track in order for everything to keep working at the same time. And if one thing begins to break down, it can affect the entire mechanism. And so because your body has learned how to shield itself from outside sources and outside information in order to remain safe, now when your soul is reaching for information or receiving information, your physical body is still there asking, is it safe to let this in? Can we let this information in? And if the answer is yes, then the body is now asking, what is the safest way to allow this information in so that it does not upset the rest of the body? Does that information have to come in through the chest and through the heart chakra and then make its way up to the conscious mind? Should it come in directly through the crown chakra so it can be directly in the conscious mind? Where is this information going to enter the body? And the reason that the body is going to pick certain places for that information to come through will be different for every person's body. But we will give an example. For example, let's say that you have been having issues with your shoulder. Now, as all of you know, your bodies are connected, right? This is the reason why someone might pat you on the shoulder and yet you feel it on your back. Someone can massage your feet and you can feel a strange sensation shooting up your spine. Everything is connected. So let's say that you had an issue with your shoulder, and so your body is working to repair your shoulder, and your body may not want to receive any information that is going to interfere with the connections and with the healing of the shoulder. So now the body has to get creative in how it's going to allow this information in. So your body is saying, yes, this information that we're receiving, that the soul wants to receive or that the soul is pulling in, is safe. We have to decide which portion of the body, which portion of the energetic aura connected to our body is going to allow this information in. What chakra is going to be safest so that it doesn't interfere with the reconstruction and healing and the mechanisms of the rest of the body. And so your brilliant mind and subconscious mind are constantly calculating this, and the soul is just doing its thing. The soul is just living. The soul is absorbing information and wanting to learn and expand. And so both the body and the soul become creative in the way that they agree to receive this information so that the body can stay safe and so that the soul can expand. Now, that said, if you, as a conscious being, conscious in both a spiritual form and a physical form, want to receive the information in a particular way, you can make that known. If you want the information to always come in through your third eye and through your crown chakra, you can make that known. If you're okay with certain sensations coming in through other parts of the body, you can let that be known as well. And many people have experienced information coming through in different parts of the body. That's why we say it's a gut feeling, or it is a pain in the neck, or we feel something heavy on the chest. These are all ways that information comes through, because these are the areas that are most sensitive and that you will pay the most attention to, and that you intuitively know is connected to something outside of yourself. Meaning that if you get a gut feeling, oftentimes you know that that gut feeling is not like indigestion. You're going to know the difference between indigestion and a gut feeling when something is off or when something is on point. But you can let your body know how you would like to receive information, and you can actually practice that. And once you get your body on point and on the same level with receiving information in that way, it will become easier for you. Now, it's not going to be exact, and it may not happen this way all the time, because again, your body's looking for openings in which it's going to be safe to receive that information. So an example we have is many people who have psychic gifts, many people who are empaths and HSPs, many light workers and indigo children and crystal beings get migraine headaches and other forms of headaches, and these can be quite debilitating. So if you're seeking information and your soul is asking for guidance or wisdom, that information may not be able to come in through the crown chakra because your mind is hurting so much. That portion of the brain and the skull and the head is in significant pain. And so the body is going to look for a different way to bring that information in. And for many of you, that information does come in through the chakras that are associated with your stomach and with your heart chakra. So if it's not safe to bring that information in through the crown, it's going to find another way in. And then it'll move its way up to the mind in small doses that you can handle, as to not agitate both your headache and the healing of your mind, the healing of whatever is causing that pain. But you can still get your body and your mind and your subconscious mind and your spirit on a agreement that says, when it is safe for me to receive information through the mind chakra, through the third eye chakra, through the ears in my chakra, if you're clairaudient, you can make that deal, and you can tell your spirit and your soul and your mind how you want to even receive these messages, in forms of, if you want to see spirits clearer, because you mentioned your mediumship abilities are fading. If you want to see spirit clearer in your mind, just start making that the request, and make that request daily. And close your eyes and visualize different spirits, and your mind will start to get on board with this, because it needs to be retrained to do this. And it is also as if it is learning a new language. It is having to refire and rewire neural pathways, and the way that it speaks to you, and even the way that it speaks to itself. So you set the example for it. You let it know exactly what it is that you want and how you want to receive messages and how you'd like this to look. And then it begins to migrate towards that. And it will take some time. And in time, as you practice this and as you're consistent with your intention and with the visualizations, you will start to notice that this opens up and you receive information and messages in the way that you desire. And it will become easier for you and it will become more consistent. So please remember that everything changes. Everything changes. Your body changes, your environment changes, your friend changes, the nature of your relationship changes, technology changes, your soul changes. Everything is always moving. You live in a field of particles that are never the same from one day to the next. And so this does have an effect on the way that you receive information and even the way that you interpret information. If you were to receive the same visualization, the same impression 5 years ago as today, we can guarantee that you would interpret it differently because your lens of the world, your understanding of yourself, your understanding of life, your perception of everything around you has changed from 5 years ago. And that's good. That's why you came here, because you wanted to expand your horizons and your understanding of many different things. So this is a clear indication that it is working. And sometimes it may feel as if you are taking 10 steps back, 100 steps back, many steps back in a gift or ability, because you're actually about to relaunch and learn how to navigate through that ability in a very different way. So it's just like mediums and psychics who learn how to open up their mediumship and psychic abilities through meditation. That is the most common way that mediums and psychics are taught to tune into their inner world and to brighten up their psychic abilities. But most mediums and psychics get to a point in their journey where they realize that that's no longer working for them, or it feels stagnant, or it's just not cohesive anymore. It doesn't really feel like it's doing the job. And so as they continue to meditate and as they continue to say their affirmations, they notice that their energy is actually lowering. They're not getting information as clear as they used to. And so now what do? Well, they've been taking a few steps back because their gifts are lowering. At least that's what it feels like to them. They're not as prominent. They're not as strong. So now what? Well, now it's time for them to ask questions. Now it's time for them to dig in deep. It's time for them to pull out some new tools. And so that's when they might turn to praying. It's when they might learn to connect to a different form of guides or different archetypes. They might start working with different crystals. They might begin journaling. They might begin singing. They might look into singing bowls and sound therapy or color therapy. They might turn to spell work. And all of these work, and they work for different people at different times, but they do work. And this is part of your expansion, not just as a human being, but also as a divine spirit, as a soul. You're learning, and that's why things change. You're learning, and that's why the messages are coming through differently. You're learning, and that's why you're going to find different ways to become more creative in gaining what it is that you want or desire.